Hi, everybody. This afternoon we turn to Daniel chapter 6, perhaps the most well-known chapter in the book, a favourite for Sunday school about God's deliverance. But here we have intrigue and jealousy and racism, all kinds of stuff going on. And in some ways, it's hardly the stuff for kids. Daniel, of course, by now is a Babylonian in his education, in his influence, in his vocation, in his residency. But he's a person who still worships the one God and turns his attention toward Jerusalem to pray 3 times a day. And there were enemies who sought his destruction. They worshipped God's false gods and were opposed him and were determined to remove Daniel. But what shines through is Daniel's integrity and his faithfulness. His enemies could find nothing wrong with him. 3 times a day he prays to the Lord. He kneels by the windows of his apartment that looks toward Jerusalem for prayer every day, 3 times a day. And again, you see there's no compromise with this man. He does not attempt to hide this practice or change it. He simply asks God for help 3 times a day. Do we have ourselves that kind of practice? Sometimes we are made to the excuse that this seems like some kind of legalism, but perhaps this could be said this is the right kind of legalism. The other thing that stands out in this chapter is the attitude of Darius the Mede, the king, the Babylonian king, and he honors Daniel. When Daniel must be arrested and executed because he's obeyed the king's stupid law, the king is saddened, and he says this. He says, "May your God, Daniel, the God whom you serve continually, rescue you." It's an extraordinary statement. And Daniel is confined in the lion's den. And we would have imagined his instant death. But the king is troubled all night. He is hoping and praying and thinking through the night and worrying. And in the morning he goes to the lion's den and he cries out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God been able to save you?" And a voice comes out of the lion's den. And Daniel says, "Long live the king. God sent his angel who shuts the mouths of lions." And Daniel is judged innocent by God, and he is rescued. He is saved, almost from the dead. Is God able to save? Well, of course, the writer to the Hebrews would say he's able to save to the uttermost. And the king here, this foreign king, hopes against all hope that God really will save Daniel. And God does. And this Babylonian overlord is so profoundly affected by this miracle, and he is transformed. His message to everyone in the kingdom is that every person should tremble before the God of Daniel. And his statement is just amazing. He says, the God of Daniel is the living God who will endure forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. His rule will never end. He rescues and saves his people. He performs signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. Can Christ save? Of course he can, and he will. I wonder whether you see here a picture of the cross.